She mocked me on the vacation I paid for and said, "If you can't afford fun, leave." So I walked away, cut off the money, and watched her world fall apart. For 2 whole years, I believed that my relationship with Lauren was a solid, promising investment. One that offered emotional dividends, stability, and a shared future that looked bright and worth building. I'm a partner at a well-established mid-sized accounting firm, someone whose entire life revolves around numbers, forecasts, and long-term returns. And in the beginning, the numbers with Lauren all seemed to add up. She was captivating, radiating beauty, charm, and an infectious energy that lit up every room. I, on the other hand, was the steady presence, reliable, grounded, and financially comfortable. I thought she appreciated that stability, that she valued my generosity as a loving partner. But what I saw as acts of love, she mistook for infinite resources. And that misunderstanding, it would soon blow up in my face, on a sun-drenched, tequila-drenched trip to Cabo San Lucas that I had completely bankrolled. The idea had been mine, a grand gesture to celebrate Lauren's 30th birthday in style. I booked a week-long stay at a 5-star beachfront resort and invited her closest friends along for the ride. There were 3 of them, women I eventually came to think of as the vultures, and her younger brother, added for some measure of gender balance. I made it clear from the start that my gift was covering flights and hotel stays. All they had to do was cover their own meals and drinks. That seemed fair. That seemed reasonable. And at first, everyone was overwhelmingly grateful, showering me with thank yous and compliments on my generosity. But that gratitude, it didn't last even through the first afternoon. From the moment we touched down, it became painfully clear that their definition of paying for their own meals and drinks was more of a theoretical concept than a practiced reality. At the very first poolside bar, when the check arrived, every pair of eyes turned toward me with expectation, not hesitation. I laughed lightly and picked up the tab. Fine, maybe they forgot. At dinner that night, a fancy restaurant with views of the ocean, it happened again. No wallets, no split checks, no offers, just me, paying silently while they chatted about lobster tacos and specialty cocktails. And that, unbeknownst to me, marked my unofficial promotion from boyfriend to group ATM. To make things easier, I had given Lauren a supplementary credit card months ago, one tied to my high-limit travel account. It was supposed to be for emergencies or occasional shared expenses. But by the second day, that card had turned into a parade prop, whipped out with a dramatic flair as Lauren ordered round after round of overpriced drinks, appetizers we didn't ask for, and anything that earned cheers from her entourage. Her friends encouraged it, goaded her on, as if the more she spent, the more they all celebrated. And me? I sat there watching, feeling less like a partner and more like a concierge. By day 3, I could barely recognize the version of myself who had once been excited for this trip. I wasn't relaxed, I wasn't celebrated, I was exhausted. I had become a background fixture, expected to pay, smile, and stay quiet. But I stayed calm, patient, hoping maybe they'd get a clue. But instead, things escalated. It was during a planning session, that evening, that the final straw was placed, and it snapped harder than I expected. Becca, the loudest and most entitled of the group, a woman who thought every Instagram moment was a scene from a reality show, proudly declared that she had booked a private sunset yacht cruise for us all. "It's going to be so epic," she squealed. "Open bar, private chef, the works." I raised an eyebrow and quietly searched the cruise company on my phone. The price tag? $3,000. For one night. For a boat ride. I spoke gently. I didn't raise my voice. "That sounds incredible," I said. "But that's a bit beyond what I was budgeting for. Maybe we can split the cost? Or look into a more affordable option." And then silence. Complete, utter silence. As if I had just said something so foreign it couldn't be processed. Lauren looked at me with a face I didn't recognize. There was no warmth, no understanding, only disgust and dismissal. "Pitch in," she repeated, her voice dripping with contempt. "Seriously, Matt, we're here to have fun. Stop complaining about the cost." Her friends chuckled, eyes rolling in agreement. But I wasn't complaining. I was being realistic. $3,000 for a sunset boat ride was not a fun expense. It was a flex. It was a statement. And then she said it. The words that shattered everything. This is a celebration. If you can't afford to have fun, then leave. The world didn't spin.
No lightning crashed.
Just silence. Thick, absolute silence. And in that silence, I felt something inside me shift. Something final. Something cold. The part of me that had loved her, that had tried, that had given. It went still. I wasn't a boyfriend anymore. I wasn't a partner. I was a financial resource surrounded by predators. And I knew it was time to walk away. So I did. Quietly. Calmly. I stood up. I gave her a small, emotionless smile. Okay, I said. And then I walked. I didn't look back. I didn't respond to the gasps or the snide remarks I heard as I headed toward the hotel. They thought I'd be back. They thought this was a tantrum. What they didn't realize was that I was leaving that table, and that entire chapter of my life, behind forever. The walk back to the hotel wasn't just a retreat, it was a strategic exit, the kind you make when you know the game is over and you're done losing. My emotions had already been packed away, replaced by that cold, logical switch that only a lifelong accountant could truly understand. The fog was gone. In its place was a crystal-clear spreadsheet of decisions. Each cell contained a task, a closure, a severance from the sinking ship I just abandoned. Action item 1, asset retrieval. I made my way back to our shared suite, locked the door, and methodically began packing. I took what was mine. My clothes, my watch, my toothbrush, my laptop. I didn't even look at the things I had bought for her. That new designer perfume I had secretly planned to give her that night, I left it sitting on the dresser, untouched. It was a sunk cost now, and any good investor knows when to walk away from a bad one. Then came action item 2, liability settlement. I headed down to the hotel lobby and approached the concierge with a calm, measured tone. I explained that there had been a family emergency and that I needed to check out 2 days early. As the primary name on the reservation, there was no pushback. I paid my portion of the bill, the charges up until that point, and made it explicitly clear that the remaining nights and all further incidentals would require a new credit card from the remaining guests. My card is no longer to be used for this reservation, I said. The clerk nodded politely and made a note in the system. Professional. Efficient. Exactly what I needed. Action item 3, exit strategy. As my taxi pulled away from the luxurious resort that had turned into a stage for my public humiliation, I pulled out my phone and booked a one-way first-class ticket home. Cost a fortune, a last-minute, top-tier fare, but I didn't flinch. It wasn't a flight. It was an extraction. A tactical, priceless rescue from the emotional hostage situation I'd been trapped in for far too long. And then, sitting comfortably in the airport lounge, sipping an overpriced coffee, I enacted action item 4, the nuclear option. I dialed the 24/7 customer service line of my credit card company. Hello? I said calmly when the agent answered. I need to report a supplementary card as lost. The authorized user is no longer authorized. Please cancel it. Immediately. I gave Lauren's name and card number. Within minutes, the pipeline that had funded their vacation fantasy was cut off, deactivated, gone. With one phone call, I had sealed their fate, though they had no idea what was about to hit them. My flight was peaceful. I landed late that night, walked into my quiet, empty house, and slept like a man who had finally unshackled himself from a burden he didn't even realize he'd been carrying. The first message from Lauren came the next morning. It was shockingly casual. Hey, are you okay? We were worried. Hope you're not still mad. We canceled the yacht. No big deal. Come back when you're done sulking. I read it. I smiled. I said nothing. The storm was coming, but she hadn't noticed the clouds yet. By 8 o'clock that night, my phone was vibrating nonstop, buzzing with the frenzied energy of a group chat in full meltdown. The card had been declined at dinner. The restaurant staff was holding them there. They thought the group was trying to dine and dash. Matt, what the hell is going on? One text read. They're threatening to call the police. Another screamed. Answer us now. I let them sit in panic for 30 glorious minutes. I pictured it all, the confused faces, the raised voices, the sudden shift in power dynamics. When I finally chose to respond, I made it simple. To whom it may concern, I typed. As per Lauren's suggestion, I left. I flew home last night. My vacation is over. Therefore, my funding for said vacation is also over. The supplementary credit card has been canceled as the authorized user is no longer authorized. The hotel has been informed. The $3,000 yacht trip you all wanted was just the beginning. You now have a dinner bill, 2 more nights at a 5-star resort, and 5 plane tickets back home to pay for. I am not your sponsor. I am not your bank. I am a man who was told that if he couldn't afford fun, he should leave. I have left. Good luck. I hit send. Then I left the group chat, blocked every number, and turned my phone on silent. The peace that followed was blissful. The next few days were a slow drip of karma, and I relished every drop. The full story came to me from Lauren's younger brother, the only person in that group who still had a conscience. He called me when they returned home, his voice a mix of apology and shock. The scene at the restaurant, he said, had been a full-blown disaster. Lauren read my message out loud, and everyone lost their minds. They had to scramble, digging through wallets, pulling together every bit of cash and credit they had, just to cover the bill. That act alone nearly bankrupted them. And when they returned to the hotel, thinking the worst was over, they found their room keys no longer worked. The front desk explained that since the primary guest had checked out, they needed a new card on file for the remaining stay. The room service charges? Thousands. Poolside bar tabs? Outrageous. And with no card to cover it, they were screwed. A loud, public fight broke out right there in the lobby. Her friends turned on her. She turned on them. Her brother, mortified, said it was the most humiliating experience of his life. Eventually, they had to beg their parents for emergency funds, wiring money across borders just to keep them from being kicked to the curb. They left the resort in disgrace and spent the last 2 nights in a rundown motel far from the beach. Their glamorous, Instagram-worthy vacation had morphed into a budget travel horror story. But the fun wasn't over yet. Back home, I wasn't done. I hired a moving company. While Lauren was at work, I had my belongings professionally packed and removed from our shared apartment, under supervision to ensure no accusations could be made. I took everything I paid for, the sofa, the TV, the dining table, the bed, even the kitchenware. I had the receipts. I left behind her clothes, her trinkets, and an echo of the life she thought would be funded forever. I then had my lawyer draft a letter to her and the landlord, formally stating that I was moving out, and that she would be responsible for any lease break penalties. I was done funding her lifestyle. Her world began to crumble fast. The friends she had tried to impress? They wanted nothing more to do with her. The public humiliation of that trip had torn them apart. They fought over who owed what, who should pay whom, and why she had let things get so out of hand. She tried, pathetically, to spin a narrative claiming I had abandoned her in a foreign country out of cruelty. But the story, the real story, had already spread. Her brother had told the truth, and people believed him. After all, she was the one who told me to leave. She just never expected I'd actually do it. 6 months have passed since that fateful flight home. I now live alone, in a modest house purchased with the money I saved from cutting her off. It's not grand, but it's mine. I sleep soundly. My business is thriving. And I've gained something far more valuable than money. I've gained peace. I haven't dated since. I'm not rushing into anything.
I'm rebuilding, carefully, intentionally.
Because next time I want a partner, not a dependent. As for Lauren, she couldn't afford the lease break. The debt went to collections. Her credit score tanked. She moved back in with her parents. A 30-year-old woman with nothing left but a few boxes and a ruined reputation. She's alone, the queen without a court. And it all crumbled because she thought a man's wallet was worth more than his heart. She told me, if you can't afford fun, leave. So I did. And in leaving, I discovered the most valuable fun of all. The quiet freedom that comes from choosing yourself. Like stories of epic revenge and emotional power like this, Smash that like button, subscribe, and get ready for more twists that'll leave you speechless.